Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and everything in between. As the title suggests, I'm going to explain why I'm not going to vote for Trump. I've thought about making this video for a while, not sure how I was going to do it or when or if. No, that's not right. I always knew I was going to make this video. And mostly in response to a lot of people who I see supporting him for what I consider bad reasons. But before I do that, I think some explanation of my own stance politically is not out of order. So I'm registered as an independent. I did that because I do not want any political party to do my thinking for me. I consider myself a left-leaning centrist, which some people might have guessed from some of my other comments, although they might have thought I was more left-leaning than perhaps I consider myself. I do tend to agree with the progressive left more, but I also realize there's a lot of idiots on the left. I just tend to agree with their policies more than I do with their right. For my voting history, without naming any names, there have been 10 presidential elections during my adult life. I have voted Democrat for 4 of them. I have voted Republican for 2. And the remaining, I have either voted third party or I have abstained from voting because I thought all the candidates sucked. So I am not a party line voter. I very much consider the issues and the individuals before I consider which party they're affiliated with. I don't really care who your political party is. I vote on my conscience. I'm not a party line voter. I vote with my conscience. I figure that's the best way of describing my own political leanings without going into too much detail. So having said that, why I won't vote for Trump. Now, there are a lot of reasons to go about this. I could quote his dishonesty, his corruption, his abuses of power, and his incompetence. There are plenty of examples of all of those. But at the core of it, it breaks down to one particular instance. In the early 2000s, I don't recall the exact date, the elder Trump died. The head of the Trump family, not Donald Trump, Trump's father, I believe his name was Frederick Trump, but don't quote me on that. Whatever, the elder Trump died. And Trump's niece and nephew contested the will. They believed they had been unfairly cut out of the will. That's another story, whether or not they have a legitimate claim to that or not. They contested the will. And in response to that, Donald Trump cut off medical funding for their 10-month-old hospitalized baby. Their baby had long-term medical issues and was hospitalized, and the family had agreed to pay for all the medical expenses. And Trump cut them off for medical. He pulled that funding when they contested the will. Now, Trump's lawyers and extended family tried to downplay it, saying that his niece and husband had been mishandling the funds. When Trump was pressed at an interview, he said flat out no, he did that because he was angry with them. I do not think you can what about this. You can't go, what about Kamala? What about Biden? Nothing Harris, Biden, Hillary Clinton, or Obama has done anything that singularly, deliberately cruel. He targeted this wasn't some random stranger, this was his brother's children. This was family, this was blood. And he retaliated through their sick infant, through the health and welfare of their sick infant. Nothing any of those other candidates I have mentioned has done anything that's singularly or deliberately cruel as to go after someone's children, a 10-month-old sick baby. Now, I could be somewhat, I'm not sure the exact term, but, saying he attacked a baby is somewhat of an exaggeration. I guess hyperbolic would be the term. I don't know. Saying he attacked a baby is somewhat of an exaggeration. The hospital wouldn't stop treating the child. But, long-term hospitalization of a sick infant is insanely expensive. And having to pay for that can bankrupt a family easily. Trump targeted a family member through their sick infant. It's like, well, if you're going to contest the will, we're going to stop paying for the kids' medical treatments. Something they had promised to do. He broke his word to a family member over their sick infant because he was angry with them. That is a level of pettiness and vindictiveness that I cannot look away from. And I do not think someone with the capability of doing that should be running this country. No one who is capable of doing that to a family member, to a sick infant, should be allowed to be one of the most powerful people in the world. Now, because I have some conservative people whom I know, let me head you off, because I know some people are going to go out and say that I'm believing the liberal left media. The problem with that is that I got this from the Red State, which is a right-wing conservative news website. Yes, I do read conservative news, or I did for a while until the algorithm decided that if you do it once, you must love it and need to be inundated with it every single day. But 2015, 2016, the algorithm was not quite as powerful as it is now. I was reading both sides of the news with the intention of trying to educate myself better. I figured if I read both sides, I could parse out what reality was better. And it worked fairly well, again, until the algorithm started force-feeding me crap. But yes, that story and stories like it were all over conservative media while Trump was still a nominee for the presidential candidacy in 2015, 2016. And then half the Republican news organizations immediately did a 180 flip to praise how awesome Trump was once he secured the candidacy. But that is, in essence, why I will not vote for Trump. Because he is a petty, vindictive, and cruel person. And he exhibited all those same qualities while he was in office. He exhibited all those qualities while he was on the campaign trail. And he continues to exhibit those qualities now. All of his rhetoric points to him being petty and vindictive as soon as if he is put back in office. As he has said, he'll be a dictator on day one. Whether or not he stops being a dictator after day one is irrelevant. He plans on pursuing that same mentality. Anyone who crosses me must be punished as harshly as I possibly can. And I can't turn aside from a man who targets the health and welfare of a child. I know a lot of people who can, who twist themselves in pretzel knots to downplay it and say that wasn't a bad thing to do, or who ignore it. I cannot. It's that simple. Good hunting.